Welcome and hello. This is a video tutorial on HEC ResSim, and in this lesson, I'm going to be discussing plotting results. This is chapter 16 in the user's manual if you're following along. After a simulation has been computed in the simulation module, you can right-click on any element in the network to view different plotting options. What I have here on the screen is a reservoir network which has already undergone a simulation. So let's go ahead and check out the results by right click and plot. You've seen some plotting in previous lessons, but today in this lesson, going to describe it in more detail. Here we have the plot that we've seen before, and you can click different elements such as the reach and then plot, or the junction and plot, and we see information about those elements during the simulation compute. All right, so the first thing to discuss is customizing the plot. If I right click on, say, this reach and then click plot, then we can go ahead and add customization to this plot. For instance, I can select the line itself and click edit properties. And it looks like I clicked on the junction. So down here, I clicked on the junction, and if you click on a specific series, it will highlight, and it's easier to click on down here. So I'll just right click and then edit properties. Okay, great. So the default, one second. All right, along the top, we have the different properties such as style, label, legend information. Style is the main display for the curve. So right now it's in green, but if I wanted to change it to blue, make it bold, click apply, we see those changes apply in the interface. There's also options for points and missing symbols. Over in the label, we can add a label. By default, there's no label, but I can add a label here and then click apply to see where it shows up and then modify that location as I wish. I also have the option to not draw the curve at all and not show that particular data set in the legend by checking or unchecking these checkboxes. Besides the data set itself, we can right click on other parts of the plot and then click edit properties, such as the background. Currently, the background is not drawn in, but I can change that by just selecting a color, checking the checkbox, and then clicking apply. You probably don't want a magenta background, so let's uncheck that. Also, we can draw the minor grid lines by checking these checkboxes and then clicking apply. And that's kind of a mess as well, so we'll leave those off, or at least the X. Let's leave the Y on and see what that looks like. And then the border around the edge of the plot, I like that. Let's keep that. Let's right click on the axes, and now we can edit properties of the axes. The default values are shown here, and we can change those by unchecking the checkbox and specifying the actual value. So instead of 200 as the minor value, if I click uh, change it to 500, that looks a little bit better. I can also change the label and then the display of the label itself, like the font, if it's bold or italicized, the size. And then I'm not going to do that, so I'll click OK. And then last is the legend. So if I right click on the legend, I can edit the properties of the legend. One of the main things I like to change about the legend is to put it on the right side. So if I click apply, and then let me just extend this over, it's sometimes easier to read the legend items when they're over to the right as opposed to underneath the plot. I'm going to change that back though. You can also quickly hide the legend by just right click, hide legend. So that's it for customizing individual plots. Next, I want to click on the reservoir and then open the plot for that. Then in the plot label, I wanted to select the variables. This is how a user can define exactly what they want to see in a plot. All right, that's easier to see. Now we see two different plots. Plot one is on top. The plot region two is on the bottom. If we wanted to swap them, we could use the arrows and then hit apply and they swap. Also, we can right click and move down, apply. That does the same thing. For some reason, it collapses the parts, so you'd have to re-expand if you want to see it, if you are moving it up and down. If we want to remove or add parts to these plots, we can select it and click remove and then apply, and that removes part from the bottom plot. We can remove the whole bottom plot or top plot if we want by just right click and remove and then apply. We can also add plot regions by going edit and then add a region and then define, add parts, what we want to see in that region. I'm not going to do that though. We could remove the zone elevations and then click apply. Now all we're seeing in this plot is the elevation of the water surface in the reservoir pool. Let me go ahead and add the inflow, and then let me add the outflow. Oops, 1 second. I need to specify the axes and then outflow and then okay. So what it told me there was the outflow, which is on this right vertical column, um, is shared with the inflow, and then the elevation is on the left vertical column, and that's in feet here. So I'd have to make sure to add that series to the appropriate axes based on its units. That's how to change the parameters of a user-defined plot. There are a number of other parameters we could be adding into these plots, but let's just leave it at that for now. I'm going to go ahead and click apply and then OK. Next, I wanted to show how we can tabulate a plot by seeing the actual table values by going just click on edit and then tabulate. We see the values for that plot shown in this table of values here. So we can either, if we wanted to export this, we could copy it just on the clipboard, or there's also an option to file, export. And what this brings up is a few different options for exporting. So the default is, looks like comma separated values was the default. So let's stick with that. And yeah, let's just see what happens there. So it's asking me for a location. I could just say data and save. Okay, so a data file showed up here. Let's open it up and see what that looks like. Okay, yep, just kind of what I expected, comma separated values. That looks a lot like that table. In this table, we also have a few different parameters, such as commas. You can toggle on and off the comma separators. I like to have those on. Reverse order, this basically reverses the time. So it starts at the end, and then as you go down, it goes back in time to the beginning of the simulation. Let's not do that. Date and time separately. This gives the date and the time separate columns. The next one over is to show the 4-digit years as opposed to just 24 instead of 2024 in this case. I actually like to see the 4-digit years. And then the last one is showing the decimal places. So this is the basically the precision, how many decimal places you want to see. If I pump it up to 4 decimal places, then I believe the inflow, yeah, the inflow has some decimal places that demonstrate that. And then the last one is missing data. So if you have missing data, you can show it as a certain value. Blank is what I have, and I don't have missing data to demonstrate that. Back on the plot, the last thing I wanted to show was how to save this plot so it could be easily retrieved from the interface. And to do that, you'd go plot and then save plot type. Then we have to choose if it's for all watersheds or just this watershed. I already have a couple saved for this watershed, so let's just add another one here. We'll just call it reservoir plot 3 and then click OK. Now, if we close this plot, if we right click and then go to user plots, it shows us those plots that we had saved. So if we bring up reservoir plot 3, here's the plot that we were just working on and we saved. All right, well, that's it for customizing plots in HEC ResSim, and hopefully it can help you visualize the results you get from running simulations.